it's been a real honor. I mean, to me, Tim is he's one of my favorite directors, one of my favorite movie makers of all time. I mean, it's weird when you get, you know, this guy who's like young guy who's just, I mean, to me, I think he's a genius. I mean, no one has that kind of vision. No one can express that vision the way that Tim does. I mean, he's just, he's incredible. It was like it was like being, I guess, how it must feel to be sort of handicapped, you know, in a way. Like, everybody would sort of open doors for you and get you something to drink, and, you know, are you okay, are you hot, or, you know, it's pretty weird. The difference is pretty amazing.
Just a combination of all my favorite fairy tale characters, you know, and of course in modern day and in suburbia. And to me, he's sort of, what makes him so special and wonderful and great is that he's a grown man, or, you know, Johnny Depp is playing him, and he's an adult, or he looks like an adult, but he thinks like a little boy. I think she's just, it's funny because every other character in the movie sort of welcomes him in a very, almost, very bizarre way. Like, they welcome him into the house and the town and the neighbors, and it's almost like when somebody famous comes home and everyone's all around him, and Kim is the only one who really has, I feel, who really has a really honest response to him, which is, what's he doing here? What's wrong with his hands? Like, who's really confused by the way he looks and who he is.
She doesn't judge. She seems very non-judgmental. I don't know why she's that way, but she doesn't judge. She just takes things at their face value, and she has an enormous amount of empathy, so that she doesn't look at Edward's hands or his deformity, if you will, as a deformity or as something that could hurt her or as something frightening. She just thinks, well, how could I make him less lonely and be part of us, and maybe get him to a doctor and maybe fix up his face so there's not so many scars. That's how she thinks.
The most original production I've ever been connected with. I marvel at what's going on out there. I just stand there with my mouth open, watching Tim work and his sense of design. It's extraordinary. I've never played a part like this before. He's kind of a barbecue-y kind of guy.
He's exactly the same fellow with the same enthusiasm for the business and the same wonderful ideas of using the motion picture for a visual effect. This is, I think, is one of his great sort of talents. This is the guy, the inventor, who creates Edward. And it's all done in a sort of montage scene where you sort of see the inventor get the idea. He has invented other things, why not invent a man? So he creates Edward. He creates him out of a cookie heart, the heart of a cookie. It's a wonderful kind of comic, but very serious idea, because it is a fairy tale. It's a fairy tale with a moral. All fairy tales have morals. That's why they were written, to teach us something. It's a beautiful story. It really is a beautiful story. Oh, he's enchanting. It's a very tough thing to play somebody who is created, you know, other than the normal way. It's very difficult to do. What do you do? I mean, because you're an unreal character, and yet he's in very real situations. There are very few people who have scissors as hands, fortunately. But I've just heard the most wonderful things about him and his seriousness in the approach to this character. I must say I'm a great admirer, and working with him has been a joy.
Tim's got a great imagination, and I like to think that I have a reasonably fertile imagination myself. And we seem to share certain similar approaches to things. The way we look at things, apparently, is compatible. It's easy for me to put music to his images. When I see stuff that he does, I hear music right away. And I think in any, historically, in any composer-director relationship where they've had a long relationship, which many have had over the years, there's a sensibility that they share that just seems to work out. With Tim, I never know what I'm going to get. And I learned by Beetlejuice that I was better off not trying to prepare for it in any major way, because I'll read the script, I'll think about it, but whatever it is I think his movie is going to be, when I first see it for the first time, it's always completely different than what I was expecting. And finally, by Batman, I decided just better to wipe the slate clean and go in with a real fresh, open mind without a lot of preconceived musical ideas. And because I had to undo a lot of ideas for Beetlejuice that I was thinking in my head when I saw it, I heard a whole different score, I mean, completely different. The first rough cut I saw.
It's a fable, is what it is. It's, Joseph Campbell had a bunch of definitions for fairy tales, fables, and so forth, and a fable is a story that people don't necessarily believe, but that they understand. And not that I don't think an audience will believe it as it's going on, but you understand what it's about, because what it's about is about feeling like you don't belong, and feeling like you want to belong, and feeling like you're trying to belong, and feeling like you should belong, and you can't belong. Tim had this brilliant image and no home for him. And he went off to do Beetlejuice, and I wrote the script. The minute he said to me, well, it's about this guy who's got scissors for hands, it just bang. I knew the story. I mean, it was so resonant and so powerful and such a clear expression of feelings that it set the whole thing off. I mean, I got to write about childhood for me, and I think for Tim also. I think that's why he hooked up so powerfully to what I did to it.
I think it first started out of just those very simple teenage impulses of the feeling of wanting to touch and wanting to communicate but not being able to, you know, the internal being at odds with the external. And again, very universal, very classic